This video is going to cover some common troubleshooting scenarios, and we're going to cover them from kind of the easiest and lightest touch problems through to the deepest problems. So if you just watch the video through, you'll likely see a solution to the most common problems. Just to explain what they are, because it's kind of useful to get an overview. The first class of problems are simple problems with BlueJ IDE and communication with the embed board. Those are usually fixed respectively either by resetting the JVM on BlueJ or just resetting the embed board. If that doesn't fix your problem, the next class is to look at the software that's on the embed. So there's a piece of software that receives your Java program commands and then manipulates the board. That can get corrupted. It's rare, but it can. So in the video we show you how to reset that to its original form. Finally, there's a piece of software called the bootloader on the embed board. This can get corrupted as well. It's very rare, but if you've tried everything else and it doesn't work, it's worth trying to reset the interface software. So in the video we finally show that. Now if you've tried all three of those things and you're still having problems, then please come into the shed and speak to someone, and I'm sure we can help you out.
A very common problem that you might encounter is if your software enters an infinite loop. I've got a very simple program here called Flasher, which simply prints the text Flasher to the LCD screen and then sets the board LED all to true and all to false with a sleep interval of 1000 milliseconds, so it just flashes on and off. You can see that these statements are wrapped inside while true. What this means is that when we run the program, it's not going to terminate. So let's see what happens when we run it. As you can see, the lollipop is just rotating round and round. And if we look on the board, our program is flashing the LED. And of course this isn't going to terminate because we haven't provided any way to exit that loop. So what happens then if we try and modify our code? If we want to say set the interval to 2 seconds instead of 1 second and hit compile, we're going to get this error message. You cannot compile while the machine is executing. This could cause strange problems! The fix for this is very simple. We just right click on the lollipop and reset the virtual machine. Then we hit compile and everything's fine. We can now run our program again and see that the flashing interval is 2 seconds instead of 1. When we do things like reset the Java machine in order to stop something that's in an infinite loop, this can cause the communication between the Java API and the embed board to get out of sync. So this can cause another problem which we'll troubleshoot. What can happen is that when we try and run our program again, we do not see the expected behavior on the embed device. If that happens, simply reset the Java virtual machine and then press the reset button on the embed board itself. You should then see the original program running with the 2 LEDs flashing, and then you should be able to run your program and it should operate correctly. If it doesn't, if you still can't get your program to run, then keep watching. So if you can't load your program, and if things are worse than that, if you can't actually see the double flashing LED program, i.e. an LED flashing on the board and one on the shield, then perhaps something has gone wrong with the program that's running on the embed, in which case you can replace the program that's running on the embed. So that program is the Java API listener, and it's listening to your Java program, the things that your Java program send, and reacting accordingly. So in order to do that, when you plug in your embed and it appears as a mass storage device called embed, by the way, if it isn't called embed, then wait for the next step and you'll see what to do. But assuming it is called embed, go to the People and Computing page, landing page, And under Troubleshooting, you'll find a section, and it might look slightly different to this because we'll probably have added more content by the time you look at it, but there'll be a section that says Embed Java API Listener Program. And there you will see the embed binary shed_embed.bin. If you save this to the mass storage device embed, you will see the embed board flashing green. Once the LED stops flashing, that means the embed software has been updated, and you also see that the board LED has gone red. If you now hit reset, you should see the double RGB LED flashing program, and you should see a waiting connection on the screen of the LCD display. If that didn't work, then go on to the deepest step that you can, which is next. Ordinarily, when you plug the embed in, it will appear as a mass storage device under Windows. Usually it will have the drive designation E and it will be called embed. And if you open the folder, you'll see a single HTML document called embed. If something goes wrong, this might not happen. What you typically might see instead is the following. You'll see the device pop up as being called bootloader. This means that the firmware has been corrupted and you'll need to load on some new firmware. In order to do this, you can follow the instructions here. So if I download this binary and just save it to the desktop, once it's downloaded, all we have to do is drag it onto the bootloader mass storage device. Once the file is copied over, that means that the firmware update is done. Unplug the embed and plug it back in. Now you see it appears as the embed mass storage device, which means that the bootloader update has worked. It's worth noting that if you want to try reflashing the embed firmware interface and your embed is appearing as an embed device, you can actually force the embed to appear as a bootloader device by holding down the reset button, plugging the embed in, and then letting go of the reset button. This should appear as a bootloader device in Windows if you do this.